So this webinar is primarily focused on the skills you will need for the nationwide drill that is taking place next week on February 11th. So while we won't be going over the specific tasks that you will be needing to do during the drill, we will go over some of those concepts that you should be familiar with in RadResponder. The main skills that you need to successfully complete the nationwide drill would be knowing how to create an event, how to add event partners, managing responders in the event, how to bulk upload a survey spreadsheet, viewing the data tables and the event map and using those corresponding filters and sorting methods, and how to assess that data. So we have plenty of job aids and user guides that you can reference that are currently in the RadResponder resource library. So once you download the handout for this webinar itself, the PowerPoint, you can actually click on these buttons and it will link you to the job aid itself in the resource library. Otherwise, you can just search for these titles in the resource library to download it yourself. We're going to walk through how to complete some of these skills. The first skill that we're going to cover today is to create an event. So in order to create an event, you must have the event creator role. And there are two ways you can go about creating an event. The first way is on the home page. You can click the create button in that green quick tile. Or you can just simply navigate to the event space, which is in the top banner closest to the RadResponder logo. Click that drop-down button and then click Create Event. From here, you will then be brought to the event creation form. Now, if you can't create the event or you click it and the link goes nowhere, that's because you do not have the correct privileges. So either reach out to your organization admin or you can email support@radresponder.net and we can help you get sorted out. So on the event creation form, there's a number of required fields which are marked with those red asterisks, as well as optional fields. For example, the end date, scenario, those are all optional, and there's more if you scroll down the event creation form. For the nationwide drill itself, we will be giving you the name, the start date, the type, sharing mode, and the location. So you will be given pretty much all of the required fields except for sponsor, which you would choose because that's your organization. And the hazard type is RAD, but if you wanted to use chem as well, you're more than welcome to, but we will only be focusing on RAD data. So once you're done filling out all of the required and optional fields, you will just click Save Changes in the upper right-hand corner, and that's how you create your event. So the next skill I want to cover is the event partners. So in order to add, manage partners on your event, you need to have at least the event manager role. So once you create your event, you're now brought to what we call the event space. So you can always tell what event you're in by looking at the name, again, in the upper banner to the closest to the RadResponder logo. So when you first open your event, you're brought to that dashboard. And for this case, you would navigate to the Partners tab to view and manage your event partners. Okay, so again, you need to have the event manager role, but once you're on that Partners page, you'll just click Manage, Add Partner, and you'll be brought with a list of all of the different organizations in RadResponder for you to search for and add. So you would just click Add next to the respective organization that you want to add to your event. And from there, you can opt to give them the full participant, view only, or view only approved data privileges. So let's say I just added FD&Y to my event. They'd show up down here. I'd choose the participant type, and then I would save changes. And conversely, if I accidentally added them and I need to remove them, I can click Remove to the left of the organization name as well. So for the nationwide drill, I'll give you a little sneak peek. You will be needing to add Chainbridge Technologies as a partner, and you will be adding us as full participants. So this is sort of where that comes into play. Next is your event responders. So again, for this, you need to have the event manager role. And from that event space that we were just in, we were in the partners page, we're now going to navigate to the responders page. So I click on that responders tab, and I'm brought to a list of all of the responders that are on my event. This is where you can manage everyone who's on that event, including adding people, adjusting roles. So to do that, you will click Manage Responders. And this will sort of bring you to that edit page. So as I can see here, once I click Manage, I can now either remove someone, I can adjust their roles by checking those boxes. So if I want to give them, the data assessor role, I'll check that box. If I want to add anyone, I'll click Add Responders and search for their name to add them individually. So Those who will be required to assess the data during the drill, they of course will need that data assessor role. So if someone in your organization is on the event and they can't find those approve and reject assess data buttons, just go into this responders tab and make sure they have the corresponding data assessor role. And again, once I'm done adding, removing, adjusting roles, I will click Save Changes in the upper right-hand corner. Next, we are going to talk about bulk uploading data. So for the Nationwide Drill, it is about assessing event data. So we will be providing you with all that data that you need to assess. So you don't have to worry about using a mobile app or submitting data. Again, we will be the ones providing you with that data. And in order to add data to your RadResponder event, you must have at least the data collector role. Okay, so in order to upload your surveys, you are going to expand the data tab on the left-hand side in your event space and then open surveys. And here is where you will see a list of all the surveys collected. So when you start and you create a new event, obviously you won't have any data, but importing surveys is how we're going to add that data there. So you're going to click the Import Surveys button. And now you're brought to the survey import page here. So the import file, you're going to choose the file that we send to you. So just save it locally to your desktop and then upload it to the RadResponder survey import page. It's going to ask you two questions. Is this already in Firmac RAMs? You can check no, and import date and time, check local. So the survey file will be given to you at the start of the drill. So you won't need to even open it or look at it. You can just simply put it into RadResponder. So all my parameters are checked. So no for, is it already in Firmac RAMs? We want it in local, and this is the import template. I'll click upload. And I'm given this sort of preview page before I commit the import. So there are total records. If there are any records with warnings or errors, it will pop up here, and just click commit import. So once you commit the import, you'll get a notification saying that the import has been completed and the results have been imported. So once you get that message, you can now be assured that all of the data that you need for the drill is in your event, and you can start to begin viewing it and assessing it. So for the viewing data portion, you of course will need the data viewer role. So again, once I'm in my surveys page, so I uploaded my data, this is where I'm going to see everything. So I'm going to see the date, the type, severity level, pretty much any metadata that I want, I can choose to see in these data tables. I will click that Choose Visible Columns button in the upper right-hand corner, and it's going to give me a list of every piece of information that I can see pertaining to my surveys. Okay, so I'm just going to check some additional boxes here. So I want to know who collected it, the comments, if there were any flags. I can also choose to click Select All. And once I click out of that, I'm now going to see my new columns that were added here. So now I can see who collected these surveys, any comments, any flags. So now that brings us to the filters capability. So we can see pretty much any piece of data that we want by filtering it down. So for example, I can filter by any of these parameters that are listed. So for demonstrations purposes, I am going to select recorded by, so I'm going to say I recorded it. I'm then going to choose a date range for when the data was collected. I only want to see units in micro R per hour, and I want my assessment status to be pending. So this status right here is referring to your assessment status of those readings. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of this filter when you are going through the Nationwide Drill. So that way you can see which pieces of your data still need to be assessed, which ones have been approved and rejected. So once I apply those filters, I can now see that this single piece of data right here is the only data point that met all of the criteria that I just entered. And you can see at the bottom it says showing 1 of 1, filtered from 15 total entries. Next, we're going to navigate over to the event map. And this is very similar to sort of those data tables, except seeing them in a tabular format, you are now going to see those data points in a geospatial environment. So to navigate to your event map, of course, once you're in your event space, just click Map, and you'll be brought to a page that looks something like this. But this is probably a good feature for you to utilize during the nationwide drill, so you can actually see the different color variations of the severity of the readings, where they're located, how they're dispersed, instead of just looking at a lat long. So in the map itself, we have this layer formatting. So you can turn on as many layers as you want, and this just determines what you're seeing on the map. So if you only want to see, your surveys, you might want to turn off your event information layers, your responder layers, any drawings. But this is sort of how it's formatted. So once you open that layers bar at the top, you can check or uncheck the different layers, which will then give you menus for that layer. So for example, I have the event information layer checked, and on the second screen, I can see that with the green flag, there's my event information layer options. If I click that, it would give me more options for that layer. Same with RDD guidance layer. I can expand that here, drawing layer, etc. Okay. There's also a filters. So you can think of layers as sort of layers on a cake. So you're adding things to the map and you're removing things. You can sort of think of the filters as a slice of a cake. So you're taking just a chunk of data from all of your layers that are applied, very similarly to what we saw in the survey table list. Okay, so if you expand the filters option, you are going to see the options of date range. So you can choose to see data only collected within a certain range, the organization it was collected by, the personnel, is it a background? You can also open the advanced filters options at the top. So the advanced filters will give you the option to view data that was assessed or not assessed. So as you can see here, you can filter by severity level. So if you only want to see readings in the high, very high range, you can do that here. So again, this is very similar to the filters from the tables, but this just shows you that data in that geospatial view. Okay, and last but not least is assessing data in RadResponder. So for this, you do need to have the data assessor role. And the data that we have you upload via that bulk upload spreadsheet is the data that you will be assessing. Okay, so let's say I uploaded all of my data into RadResponder. Now I'm ready to go and start collecting my data. So I would recommend you opt to see the status column by selecting your choose visible column so you can see what the status is of each reading sort of at a quick glance. So for my pending readings, that means it has not been assessed. Approved means it's been approved, and rejected means that reading has been rejected, of course. So if I click expand details on any of a single reading in the table format, it's going to give me a quick snapshot of all the information pertaining to this particular reading. So if everything I need is right here, so I can see, okay, any flags that were associated with it, I can see the severity, I can see the meter that was used, the surface area, etc. Based on the requirements that you are looking for each data point, this may be enough information to either approve or reject. It may not be. So this is listed out in the drill one pager of some of the health physics best practices to determine if a piece of data should be approved or rejected. So I'll let you go over this before the drill on your own time, but this is sort of how we're basing what data is being approved or rejected. So based on this criteria here. Okay, so again, if this is not enough information and you want to see more, you can just click that blue magnifying glass in the left corner that I have highlighted here. And this is now going to show me all of the survey details that you can see on the right-hand side. So it is kind of small, but that was just to sort of fit it on this one page. But you can scroll through the entire details of an individual survey. So it's going to give you all of the general information, the location information, the survey information, any assessment details. As you can see, you want to look for all of these required fields to figure out if this reading should be approved or rejected. And if that reading meets all of the outlined criteria, you can mark it as approved. And if the reading did not meet all of the criteria, you'll mark it as being rejected. So actually marking something as approved or rejected, you can do so in a variety of ways. The first is from that single details page. So I opened up the details of one particular survey. At the top, I can assess, I can approve with comment, or reject with comment. I can do so in the data tables with that expand details that I showed you all earlier. So you can approve or reject from this page. And you can also approve and reject data from the event map. So if you click on a particular reading, just click the details, and now you can see, again, the details of the reading, the assessment status, if there's any attachments, and then you can approve or reject that data point from there. So again, this webinar was just meant to go over the skills that you will need in order to successfully complete the drill. For any additional things that we did not cover, we encourage you to use your organization's standing operating procedures. The schedule will look a little something like this next Tuesday. So 15 minutes before the start of the drill, we will be emailing out the instructions as well as the survey upload spreadsheet that you will need, just to ensure everyone has it before 1 o'clock. And then 1 o'clock is the official start of the drill. You'll have an hour and a half to complete the activities and the instructions. And then from 2:30 to 3 o'clock, we will have a drill hot wash and a discussion.